What's up, guys? Pastor Drew here, still rocking it with coronavirus and everything like that. Hopefully, we'll be together soon whenever our leadership says it's safe, whenever our parents decide it's safe, and everything like that. And it's just we're taking care of each other, we're protecting each other, and all that. We don't want to rush these things, of course. And still got the hair growing. It's going to be cool when it gets all cut off. Still got the beard growing. Actions speak louder than anything, and that's kind of what this next sermon series is going to be about. We're going to dive into Esther, and Esther is a really, really cool book, a really cool historical account about how a country changed with one woman. Actually, a series of women, a series of minorities that took over and stood up to what was going on that wasn't right in their country and changed. So let's dive in. Again, obviously, 11:35, we'll have our discussion. I'll open up the channel as early as 11:15, and I can't wait to see you guys on it. So let's read. I'm going to read the whole first chapter of Esther because it is pretty gripping. It reads just like a story. So let's stay tuned and let's see what happens in this first chapter of Esther. It's pretty wild. This is what happened during the time of Xerxes. The Xerxes who ruled over 127 provinces stretching from India to Kush. At that time, King Xerxes reigned from his royal throne in the citadel of Susa, and in the third year of his reign, he gave his nobles and officials a party, a banquet for all of his officials, the military leaders of Persia and Media. The princes and the nobles of the provinces were present. For a full 180 days, he displayed the vast wealth of his kingdom and the splendor and glory of his majesty. When these days were over, the king gave a banquet lasting 7 days in the enclosed garden of the king's palace for all the people from the last to the greatest who were in the citadel of Susa. The garden had hangings of white and blue linen, fastened with cords of white linen and purple material to silver rings on marble pillars. There were couches of gold and silver on mosaic pavement on the porphyr, marble, mother of pearl, and other costly stones. Wine was served in goblets of gold, each one different from the other, and the royal wine was abundant in keeping with the king's liberality. By the king's command, each guest was allowed to drink with no restrictions, for the king instructed all the wine stewards to serve each man what he wished. Queen Vashti also gave a banquet for the women in the royal palace of King Xerxes. On the 7th day, when King Xerxes was in high spirits from wine, he commanded the 7 eunuchs who served him, Mehima, Bisma, Harmna, Bigtha, Aspa, Zethar, and Carcass, to bring before him Queen Vashti wearing her royal crown in order to display her beauty to the people and nobles, for she was lovely to look at. But when the attendants delivered the king's command, Queen Vashti refused to come. Then the king became furious and burned with anger. Since it was customary for the king to consult experts in matters of law and justice, he spoke with the wise men who understood the times and were closest to the king: Karshina, Shether, Enmatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marcina, and Memucan, the 7 nobles of Persia and Media who had 7 access to the king and were highest in the kingdom. According to the law, what must be done to Queen Vashti? He asked. She has not obeyed the command of King Xerxes that the eunuchs have taken her. The Memucan replied to the presence of the king and the nobles. Queen Vashti has done wrong, not only against the king, but also against all the nobles and the peoples of the provinces of King Xerxes. For the queen's conduct will become known to the women, and so they will despise their husbands and say, King Xerxes commanded Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she would not come. This very day, the Persian and Median women of the nobility who have heard about the king's conduct will respond to the king's nobles in the same way. There will be no end of disrespect and discord. Therefore, if it pleases the king, let him issue a royal decree and let it be written in the laws of Persia and Media, which cannot be repealed, that Vashti is never again to enter the presence of King Xerxes. Also, let the king give her royal position to someone else who is better than she. Then, when the king's edict is proclaimed throughout all the vast realm, all the women will respect their husbands from the last to the greatest. The king and his nobles were pleased with this advice, so the king did as Memucan proposed. He sent dispatches to all the parts of the kingdom, to each province in his own script, and to each people in their own language, proclaiming that every man should be ruler over his own household using his native tongue. Jesus, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Thank you so much for healing our land. Keep it going. Help people stand tall and protect everybody as we move forward today. In Jesus' name, amen. So yeah, that was a long chapter, but it sums up the events of Esther 1 better than I could do it myself. So let's talk about what happened. Right? King Xerxes threw a huge party. He threw a crazy party for so many people, for the leadership. And the only goal for this party was to display his wealth. It was to show people that he has money, that his kingdom is rich. That was the only reason why this party ever happened. It wasn't to celebrate anything other than the wealth of the kingdom. And it was a long, long party. People drank, people did a lot of stuff, and there were even two parties. There was a 180-day party. This is a 6-month party. You can grow a full head of hair in 6 months. You can go through a warranty in 6 months. You can raise a baby, well, sort of, in 6 months. You can take it from a fresh out of the womb to a 6-month-old, or you can go from 3-month pregnancy, barely people knowing that you're pregnant, to having a baby. I don't know why we're talking about babies. That's weird. But a lot can happen in 6 months. 6 months ago, we were barely even talking about the coronavirus. Think about that. We were still talking about NBA games and stuff like that. It was January. We were excited about the Super Bowl coming up in 6 months. He threw a party that long. It was a long, long party. And the only reason why he threw a 6-month party was to demonstrate how much money he had. That was it. That was the only reason why he threw this party. It was insane. It was an insane thing to do. Very, very weird. Crazy. And then after the first 180 days ended, he decided to have another week party. He decided to have another party, another time to party after the 180-day party. And his wife had another party as well for the females. But he decided, after being drunk for 7 days, that he wanted to parade around his wife because he knew that people thought she was pretty. So he had a demand ordered up to his wife from his other officials saying, hey, go grab my wife, go decree an order to my wife and tell her to come here and show everybody how pretty she is. Bring her over here so she can show how pretty she is to my male guests. That's what he wanted to do. That was his plan here. And she said no. She refused to go over there. She was not having that. She said, no, I'm not going to do that. And she was living in a world where she knew that this action, that this statement against her husband, against this king, was going to have consequences. And she still said no, because she knew what was right. She knew what she had to do. So she said, no, I'm not going to your party. That's a no for me. So he started showing his weak and insecure leadership. He was embarrassed. He wanted to make her do this thing that was wrong. It was objectifying. It was silly. He was drunk and he was being a bad, weak leader. And he got very insecure when his wife told him, no, I don't want to go over there to your group of drunk friends and show them how pretty I am. And he got very insecure about the fact that she would say no to that. He got insecure, frustrated, mad, angry about this. So then he continues. He gets confused. And he seeks his counsel. He seeks advice, because when kings are confused, usually they seek advice. But he was seeking advice from a council that led him to believe that things like this were okay in the first place. So not all advice is good advice. He was seeking bad counsel, and they were giving him bad advice, and they were probably a lot of yes men. He was not in the right here. He was very much in the wrong, but these were probably people that were scared of him. They didn't want to tell him things that were correct. They didn't want to tell him how silly he was acting. So they were probably telling him things that reinforced the crazy way he felt and just let him keep rolling down this weird path of logic that he was on. More and more bad counsel. Bad counsel can lead us in the very wrong, bad directions. And that's what happened here for King Xerxes. And what ended up happening here was a bad mix of bad authority giving a bad order, a good, defiant person sticking up for herself, saying, no, I will not go and demonstrate how pretty I am, saying no. And then he got mad, sought counsel, and the council said, well, we need to write a law where she can't say no anymore, where people can't say no anymore, where women can no longer say no to their husbands in their own homes. It was an abusive law that was made. They were making women less than human. This was a bad law that was being created because a leader was being made insecure by his own silly actions. Does this make sense? And so, like, this is how a system can definitely hurt a lot of people. But it exposed King Xerxes, because he went from being jolly good King Xerxes. He went from being jolly good guy. Hey, I'm the party king. Everybody come here and just come here and have fun with me. We have a 6-month party and then we're going to party for another week. But the time where his wife steps out of line, then he's going to bring the hammer down. He doesn't look quite so fun anymore. The king gets exposed for being an abusive person. He's not anymore trustworthy now, since this event happened. It's starting to stew in people's minds. Wow, look at what this guy did. This guy was so insecure by his wife not wanting to be mistreated, that he wrote a bad law mistreating everybody. This thought was starting to turn in people's minds, especially the female mind. So just to quickly sum up again what happened, because I know this is like a really big event, a really big thing. So a king, a really powerful king, throws a really big party, a really long party. And the only reason why he throws it is to flex his own wealth and to flex his own power. It lasts for 6 months. All the good, powerful people come and enjoy his party. He looks amazing. He looks awesome. And then there's a week-long after party to the 6-month party. And there's also a counterpart female party. But there's a primary male party, at least in the king's eyes. And he actually ordered his wife to come over and display her beauty to his male friends in the male party. And she refused. So he got insecure and wrote a bad law saying that women can no longer disagree with their husbands. So what? So what? Queen Vashti. Let's not get this confused here, right? Like, I know the narrative is very simple, but let's just call it what it is right now and just break it down to eliminate any confusion, just in case we might find ourselves sympathizing with people, which is fine. We sometimes do sympathize with the villain. Sometimes when I watch Star Wars, I sympathize with Darth Vader and I want him to succeed. And that doesn't make me a bad person. That just means I want people to succeed. Queen Vashti is the good person here. Queen Vashti is the hero. King Xerxes is the silly person. King Xerxes is the person that is messing up in this narrative. Queen Vashti stood up to abuse. He wanted to emotionally abuse her. He wanted to use her as a trophy in front of his friends. And if we can stand up for ourselves. As Christians, as people, God gives us the right and the ability to stand up for ourselves. And if we aren't being abused, and if we don't have the threat for abuse in our life at the moment, we can stand up for people who are victims of abuse. King Xerxes was embarrassed and got advice from negative sources. And then he followed this negative advice. We don't have to follow negative counsel, and we can filter out negative counsel, and we can seek good counsel. King Xerxes followed through with this terrible counsel and wrote a terrible law that abused half of the population. It abused the female population. And really, it abused the male population as well, because we can't handle that kind of power. We shouldn't have it. So don't be afraid to stand up for what is right. Seek good counsel. Don't be afraid to stand up for what is right. Seek good counsel. Don't be afraid to stand up for what is right. Seek good counsel. Stand up for what is right. Jesus stands up for people. And if you need to know what is right, crack that Bible open, talk to me, find some good worship songs, spend time in your prayer closet, pray, get on your knees with God, and just bring some stuff up to the discussion today if you're confused about anything. There are so many resources out there if you're confused on what good or bad counsel looks like. Ask me about it. Ask Bong Young about it. Ask Elder Kim about it. Ask your friends about what good or bad counsel looks like. Seek good counsel. And if you hear bad, ungodly counsel in your life, do your best to discard it and not listen to it. All right? And you can even fight back against it and maybe change a heart and a mind and the world in the process. So Jesus, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. Thank you so much that we still get together, even online. we do expect and hope for the day to come shortly whenever it is safe for us to come into person again. But again, that is under our leadership's judgment when we are actually deemed safe. Give us patience. Let us draw near to you during this time. And always let us hunger more and more for you. In Jesus' name, amen. So guys, I'll see you soon. I'll see you at 11:15 or 11:35, whenever you want to come out for discussion. And we'll have a really cool discussion on this topic. And can't wait to see you. Love you guys.